Okay, welcome back to Violent Money TV. Today I am joined by LFA's Mitchell McKee, who returns at LFA 193 on September 20th. And from looking at this fight straight away, just from, without diving too deep into it, just looking at this fight that you have coming up against Ashton Caniglia, it very much seems like this is a fight that could propel you into a title shot. Is that anything that you've thought about during this camp, or do you try and kind of block those things out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think about those things. I don't even think too much of like as far as what the future holds. I'm just worried about, going in every day and trying to sharpen my skills and getting better every single day. Um, I think sometimes when you focus too much on the future, you forget the work you got to put in every day to get to that future. So, um, yeah, I mean, I definitely know that with my record and a win or couple more wins, I get to a LFA title shot. I get to the UFC soon, so it's in the back of my mind, but I'm not really thinking about it too much. Just putting the work in every day.
Yeah, it's you have a unique career in the fact that you didn't have an amateur career, right? Did you go straight from wrestling into your pro career?
Yeah, I did. I moved. I didn't have any striking or jiu-jitsu background, and yeah, I just moved down here to Florida in July of 2021 and started training MMA and never had hit pads or well, a little bit of pads, but no like striking training really at all. And no jiu-jitsu at all. So yeah, it's been, a little over 3 years. I've been working on all aspects of MMA. And yeah, I feel like I've really made a lot of progress and a lot of improvements from obviously a lot from obviously, before I moved down here, but in the last year for sure.
Yeah, what's it been like training out of Killcliff? Like, I mean, even with the wrestling background that you have, I'm sure that there's pretty much every gym in the US would have been happy to welcome you into the ranks for the knowledge and the experience that you can pass on to them as much as that they can pass on to you as well. But obviously, Killcliff, one of the top gyms in the world, and I'm sure that has been a fantastic place to really, like you said, train MMA for the first time, really.
Yeah, it's crazy how many different people we have from different backgrounds and different countries and everything. And around my weight, it's a lot of kind of up and coming guys like myself. And then, as you get to 55, 70, some of those bigger weights, we have guys like Gilbert, Brendan Allen, Gregory Rodriguez. Like we have a lot of, guys that are experienced and established. So just being able to be around those guys, watch those guys, learn from those guys. And then at the same time, having these partners that I have that are young, hungry guys like myself. So we train hard and you also get the knowledge from our coaches. Like Robbie Lawler just retired last year. He's in the room every single day now, coaching. So and Henry Hooft, our striking coach, and just the amount of people there are to get knowledge from and to just kind of talk through positions and it's pretty incredible and I'm very lucky to be down here.
Yeah, I mean, you speak about some of the guys that you get to train with. One of the ones that I've seen pop up on your social media a few times is Onglan Sang, who I spoke to just before his last fight. Who he speaks a lot about how he's been able to kind of extend his career by training with up and coming guys, and it kind of keeps him fresh, keeps him evolving and stuff like that. To have those kind of people around you must be obviously super valuable for any MMA fighter at this stage in their career, but especially for someone like you that doesn't have that amateur background. So you are kind of, you are learning the pro game on the job, as it was.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it definitely, um, there's a lot of things you just don't know that you don't know until you learn them. And, obviously you don't want to have to learn them the hard way. Sometimes you do in fights, but that's the beauty of having all these guys around you is you can kind of learn learn the lessons in the room and instead of having to learn them in the fight. which I feel like that's the great part about our gym is there's so many talented guys and so many facets of the sport of mixed martial arts, like whether it's striking, jiu-jitsu, grappling, judo, wrestling, it's just like so many different backgrounds that you can ever, if you know you got to work on something, you can go with specific people to get a good feel and ask questions, and it's definitely a two-way street. We all help each other. We all understand where someone, their background is from, and we ask questions and we also help each other out. So it's amazing.
Yeah. They just cut out. There you go. I'm just waiting for it to come back. There is, I feel like sometimes a little bit of a cliche in MMA when someone has a fight and doesn't get a finish, and people say, "Oh, well, at least you got the time in the cage and stuff like that." But I feel like that's actually super relevant to your career when looking at your record. Again, the fact that you went straight into the pro game and had those four finishes, which are obviously all very impressive. But then you have the two fights where you go to a decision, and the last fight, I watched it back yesterday before we did this, and you're constantly going for the finish. But I don't necessarily think that whilst of course you would rather get the finish than not get it, but the fact that you didn't means you can go away and look at that tape and see what you need to do and things, whereas if you get it straight away, it's like it's kind of hard to learn from that experience. Like, what has that been like going the distance in the last two, and how much do you feel like that has improved your game compared to getting those quick finishes, which, like I said, is obviously the preferred option, right? You'd much rather have an earlier night at the office, but I
Yeah.
feel like in your case, it's particularly relevant because that cage time is something that you didn't have because of the transition from wrestling.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it definitely, I feel like my last two fights is where like I said, that's why I feel like my last year I've really improved the most is because I've had those two decisions and I've had a lot of cage time. I've had a lot of, um, and the one fight was all on the feet and the second one was pretty much all on the ground. So I've had a lot of different feels and things within the fight that I work on. And yeah, I know that I would want to get those finishes, and I'm always trying to get the they just don't come. Like I think my last guy, he's never been finished, and the guy before that he had been finished once. So it's sometimes hard. Some guys are just tough, and I thought my last one I was going to get it when I was on top in the first round, but he just kept fighting. So yeah, I feel like from those fights, like especially the last one, I should have done a better job of on my top control, being more posturing up a little bit more to get better leverage to land harder grounding pound. My back was a little bit too on him, and my hips and knees were back instead of sliding my knees up, pinching, posturing up, and then striking. So yeah, it's just a lot of little things that you can take away that in turn in the future can help you then get those finishes in those positions.
Yeah, we've mentioned your wrestling background a few times, and obviously it's such an important part of your MMA career as well. It literally took, I think, 2 seconds of typing your name in on YouTube to find, I'm sure, a video that you will have seen before. The video that was put out by CBS. I assume it was on as part of some like news broadcast about when you won your first wrestling tournament. I think it was back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. That was
Yeah,
when the video was published on YouTube, but this
yeah.
incredible story of you winning that tournament for your dad is a beautiful video. Um, I'm sure that that is something that from that point on all the way to now is still something that motivates you every single day.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, my dad and my mom, they growing up, they brought us to every wrestling tournament they possibly could. We were traveling around the US like every single weekend, driving across the country. And they were making sure I was getting to the best practices with the best coaching, or they were creating a club in our hometown and bringing in coaches, for the whole town, but mainly they were setting it up for me and my brother, and yeah, just the things they did to get us to where we are now is pretty incredible. And you don't really realize it when you're younger, like you're in your just your young years and you're just taking for granted the time, effort, and money they're putting into you. And now that I have a 1 year old and like I'm married with a 1 year old, it's like I'm starting to realize like how much time and effort and money it takes to or what they did for us when we were younger. And yeah, I mean, I miss my dad every day, and he was someone that I really looked up to, and someone that pushed me. And he didn't really grow up like wrestling necessarily, but he was just an athlete. Like he played football. He wrestled for like 2 years, but nothing crazy. Like I didn't know he wrestled before I got into the sport, but um, yeah, he was just a great dad, a great husband, and always just doing anything he could to make sure that my brother and I had the best opportunities we could.
Yeah, I mean that video, I think it's like 2 minutes long. But it really is incredible. This is kind of, I suppose, ignorance on my behalf because the like school system is so different over here in the UK. But am I right in thinking you're like way younger than everyone else you're competing against in that tournament? Is that right?
Yeah, so our grades go like first, second, third, all the way up, but
Hmm.
up to 12th. 12th grade is like your last year of high school. And I think I was a 10th grader, but they also call them different too. It'd be a sophomore. I was a
Yeah.
10th grader. So yeah, I mean I was on the varsity team, the high school team from 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all the way through to 12th. And I actually the year before I was ranked number one in the state as a freshman, as a ninth grader, and I got upset in the semifinals of the state tournament. And then I got the news about my dad like a week later. So it was like that right there. And then, after that, I got that news and I was already devastated from losing in the state tournament. That's what kind of drove me to say, I'm going to really work as hard as I can this next year and make sure that my dad at least gets to see me win, a state title. And I was, lucky because his first diagnosis was supposed to be like months. And he ended up, living for like almost 2 more years. So like a year and a half. So I mean, I also think just wanting to watch, me win a state title. And then I ended up committing to the University of Minnesota for wrestling, probably 3 months before he passed, 4 months. So him just knowing that my future was kind of secure, I think was what kept pushing him forward. And then ultimately, was happy he had done the job that he needed to as a father.
Yeah, I mean, it's powerful stuff, man. I'm sure that it's, a similar kind of motivation that you get from being a father yourself now. Um, and I look forward to this fight, LFA 193, September 20th against Ashton Caniglia. Like I said, I know that you're not thinking about it too much, but I think that title shot isn't too far away, especially after this
Yeah.
one. So people should tune in for that. But I
Yep.
appreciate your time, man, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you,
having
man.
me.
Cheers, dude. See you later.
Yep. Bye.